Welcome to Polkadot Prague. All of you, the early risers, I had to wake up at 4:30 a.m. this morning to make it. I guess the bear market and this early hour in Prague makes it kind of just the core audience. So welcome to those passionate ones of you who are in for Polkadot and building in it in these kind of quiet times. So to open up the things, I would like to start with to talk about how to make NFTs be the bridge to mass adoption of overall blockchain and Polkadot in particular. That's our mission. That is our goal, and that's what we at Unique are working on for a few years now. So I wanted to share the story with you. We have worked on blockchain stuff for over 6 years now, and all those 6 years we're thinking about how to make blockchain appeal to everybody. Okay, so mass adoption. And for NFTs in particular, we have come to these three things as key. First and foremost, we do need to kind of kick off things in a right way, to begin in the right way, and that means sustainability. Secondly, the infrastructure that we have in place is, we had in place before Polkadot arrived, was not kind of capable of handling really a lot of stuff, both in terms of scalability, but also functionality. The smart contracts are slow, they're complicated, and they very quickly tie up your legs so you can't run. So we have to build a much better infrastructure. And the third point is that pretty pictures are not going to make NFTs the mass market appeal. They do appeal to a number of people, but it's not something that gets there. And actually, the reason for existence of NFTs is much bigger. So we'll delve into the new use cases we are seeing, we are helping build, and that will drive the mass adoption. So, okay, so first things first, the sustainability story. So when we started the first NFTs, okay, they were on Counterparty and so on, but on Ethereum, the backlash from global community on NFTs was very strong because it burned the planet. They burned the planet. Okay, we are in 21st century, and everything we do must be very energy efficient, because otherwise we will be perceived, rightfully so, that we are burning the planet. So we begin with that. Now, it has that sustainability and climate friendliness is the public story. Our internal story is actually energy efficiency. If it takes you, a locomotive to make an NFT, that's not the right technology. And before Ethereum took off to become proof of stake, it took like 80 kilos or 80 tons of CO2 to make one NFT. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous, and it still is. It's still 40 grams of CO2 that produces to make just make one NFT. So it doesn't become the tool for mass adoption. You cannot have gazillion of them. It cannot be Web3 infrastructure if it's burning so much energy to make it. It's simple physics that most of us have studied in school, and we need to be much more efficient. So Polkadot has solved that to a great extent. The energy efficiency of Polkadot is really way ahead of all the other kind of major blockchains. Sorry. And we have solved that. Sorry. We have solved that for NFTs because we made native minting, which is thousands of times more energy effective and scalable than using smart contracts. And we did a lot of actually comparisons, benchmarking with all the other chains, and we are doing much better. So hopefully we got that solved. And the message to you, fellow builders in Polkadot ecosystem, be aware of that. That is a very important tool to attract mass audiences. It becomes, because it is an advantage that we have at Polkadot, never mind what you do, okay? So moving on to the next point is, this is Beck?
This is Beck?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so it's down, right?
Okay, yep, okay.
Okay, this one down. Okay.
Thank you. So getting to the really important stuff, okay, something that is not so obvious. So firstly, as I said, the ERC 721 with the smart contract for it is very primitive technology. It can do very little. If you have been in IT industry, software industry for 20-something years as I have, I see that and I understand it's something that cannot do much, cannot produce much, cannot be used much, except with CryptoKitties and such, okay? So at the same time, the way that things were made was more like you needed a PhD in cryptography to be able to use it, okay? What we all need, of course, is the technology that interacts with users that is as good as Web 2. Okay, that is something that a lot of people understand, a lot of people are working on it, and us as well. That means no transaction fees to speak of for the user themselves, because the transactions need to be smooth and kind of, that is the single biggest barrier to mass adoption, if you ask me. You know, you need to think like the gaming companies do. You need to attract the audience first and then make them pay at a later date when they're hooked, right? So that's the main idea. But then the deeper idea is the NFT functionality. Think about it. NFTs are basically the way to digitize and tokenize any unique asset, okay? My clothes, my passport, my car, my house, all of those unique assets can be and should be digitized and protected digitally, right? So when you think about it, what can you do with the physical assets that are unique? You can do a lot of stuff. And so the technology needs to reflect that. It has to be very flexible to allow not just buying and selling a picture, but doing all the different things you can do with the unique asset classes. In finance, you have real estate funds that basically sell you shared ownership, where you can actually enter the particular real estate market and save up in the same financial asset class, because that is what is financially prudent to do. The same thing, you can rent the advertisement space. You can rent a house. You can you get your documents, ID, driver's license, your high school diploma or whatever, and you want to have that around, the warranties as well. So you need to do a lot of things with them. These are some of the things that we were working on heavily for a few years now, and that kind of really unleash the next generation of use cases that we're going to talk about at the end, that enables them to be done very easily. You can do all of this stuff with Solidity smart contracts, but you will feel like, again, your legs are tied very, very quickly. You cannot scale that, and you cannot complicate it in any way. You cannot do anything complex, more than complex than the first step. So what Polkadot has at its core strength is substrate, which you use to create custom blockchain functionality, right? So we took that and created the native NFT palette that is as secure as smart contracts, right? But it does things not, it creates assets that are not tied to its mother, so to speak. In EVM, basically, and all the other chains, when you create NFT, it's not an asset in itself. It's a child that has, the mother tied into it all the time in form of the smart contract that created it. You cannot deal with the asset. You have to deal with the smart contract all the time, right? So that ties up a lot of mass adoption use cases and doesn't allow them to be executed in any reasonable way. You can do it, you can kind of pretend you're doing it, you can prove you can do it, but if you want to do something production scale, you can do it. So this native minting is something that Polkadot allows. We already have quite a few, actually, NFT pallets in the ecosystem, and all of them are doing the same, that same thing, which means creating assets, unique assets that are free to move around and can be used in many different kinds of applications you can come up with. They can be trustless, or they can be decentralized, or they can be just pure Web 2, but they will be using the NFT that is secure. The number of these functionalities, the customizable NFTs, multi-resource NFTs, and so on, that's something that a lot of people are working on, so just us. Of course, you want to be able to combine assets into, there's a lot of use cases for that. When just a simple one is creating a metaverse, you have your avatar, and you go about getting clothes for it. We have seen Remark was doing it, we're doing it. It's something that is a very obvious use case, but it can go a very, very long way in a lot of different use cases, but we'll talk about that later. The advanced rights management is something nobody thinks about. But we as infrastructure people, we did think about it a lot. And the way, as Gavin likes to say, again, Solidity, smart contract kind of driven NFTs are very opinionated technology. It allows you to do things only one way or highway, nothing else. So if you are an enterprise that wants to do something and then wants to do something else, you have to redo everything from the beginning. It's expensive, long, and horrible. So putting in the flexibility into everything, and including how the collection is managed, is kind of very important. So we did put in quite a few of those ourselves, and consider this as important for enterprises as a target market, which we actually see a lot more of as we talk about. Dynamic NFTs are something very interesting. They basically, you can play with them, give them life any way you want, and it is kind of usable in, again, gaming obviously, but in a lot of different ways. We have partnered up with the awesome kind of NFT studio, Snarkart. They've done their dynamic NFT platform that works on Polkadot now. And you can do a lot of, open up a lot of doors for artists that make stuff, and for anybody else, if you can have not only static NFT, but also something that can trustlessly change over time depending on whatever you want, your creativity, okay? It can become reputational tool, it can become kind of in-game item, gaming item that grows in strength or reduces strength, etc., etc. Fractional is obvious, okay? We are actually going to distribute fractions of CryptoPunk to show everybody the original one. We bought the original one and are giving it away to everybody, a fraction of it. And with that, you can actually open up a restaurant with that CryptoPunk, same as the guy who paid $100,000 for it. Okay, so it is important. We all know that this is financial stuff. It's kind of easy to comprehend. So having all of that stuff is, in our view, necessary to kind of get ahead of the game and enable the next generation of use cases, which, in my view, is the key. Okay, this is what we spend most of our time on now. The infrastructure stuff and the sustainability is solved. Okay, we have 90-something% of it done. It's working. You can use it. You can play it. So now comes to the people who are actually using all that stuff to get into the real world. Okay. The NFT started off with collectibles, okay? That's what everybody was playing in. That's what everybody was talking about for the last X years. And that's fine, okay? That's great. That's a great door opener for people to understand the NFTs a little better, to kind of get in touch with them, to feel them out. CryptoKitties put in the CryptoKitties or other card games put in the gaming items, and of course we have had digital art. Most of it is not art; it's kind of attempt at art, but still. There are people who are serious artists who are trying to make some serious stuff with NFTs. That's what we are most of us are familiar with, right? Now, what we are doing is trying to find all the different use cases for NFTs 2.0, or next generation after that. So. I like to start with the POAPs because they are an excellent. Okay, we are in a bear market, and to sell somebody an NFT for $100 or $100,000 is you won't succeed. Doesn't work. Okay, nobody wants to buy them anymore because they don't think they will sell them tomorrow for $300. It works only in the heat of the hype market. But if you think of it. During the last bull market, everybody has heard of NFTs. Okay, my wife, she's a production designer. She still doesn't understand it, but she's heard of it, and all her friends and all the friends. And the event tickets or POAPs actually are excellent way to educate people, to give them their first NFT as a kind of experience, and for them to see, hey, this is not such a big deal. I got it, beautiful. Okay, they're going to say, so what? But still, they have it. You'll prove it will be a proof to them that that they can handle it, that they can adopt it, that it's nothing to be scared of. So, as a kind of company in the ecosystem, Lemonade, they work on events and POAPs and do that very, very well. If somebody wants any kind of NFT tickets for any kind of event, actually, doesn't have to be blockchain conference, you can there are solutions that you can use to do that. And again, it's not a big deal at all. Now, the thing is, NFTs are actually, when we did POAPs for fashion brand Dundas, this was a couple of months ago, they did that for their Paris fashion show. It's a very exclusive event. There's like 300 people, and out of those 300 people, about between 10 and 20%, I don't remember exactly, people have actually followed up and claimed their NFT because they were genuinely interested. The thing is, what we are building, the NFT stuff, is intriguing to a lot of people in the world, and it's very innovative. So a community building approach to making mass adoption actually works, because if you tell somebody, sign up for our newsletter, on Eventbrite, when you register for this event, you unclick that because you don't want that because there's gazillion of them doing that and you don't want gazillion emails in your mailbox, right? I mean, that's something nobody reads that anymore. But if you give somebody an NFT, chances are, 90-something% chances are, that that will be the first NFT in their life. That is a life experience that everybody appreciates, actually. Their first touch with some new technology. Very subconsciously, not a big, not something you think about, you kind of remember off the top of the head, but you do remember it. So, as such, it's a great gift you give to somebody. So, as such, it's a great way to build communities. So we are trying that out now with some cultural events types because they are hungry for ways to get more audience, okay? And this is cheap or free. This is making them look good because it's innovative and so on. We'll see. We have an event on June 17th to see how it works in person, and we are doing it for for a few projects. But the thing is, if you start, we're supporting one VR movie. It's actually a great VR movie that won Producers Guild Award, which is basically the second best kind of movie award you can get in the States. But it's a hard topic. It's very it's political, it's a human tragedy and so on. It's not going to be a big commercial success, right? So what they need to do is have something that will enable them to maximize the relationship with those people, that small audience that's really interested in those topics. And actually, NFTs are a great way to do that. You give people a POAP or an NFT as a memory or something, they register for your community, and you can communicate with them much more openly. They will open your email. They will join the Telegram channel. They will join your Facebook group or things like that on 100 times or 1,000 times better than if you do it otherwise. That's the key here. So these loyalty programs, the beginning of that is actually not the loyalty, but building the community. And as a marketing tool, it's one of the most efficient ways to do that today, okay? Because because it works, because it's so innovative. It is time to do that, okay? The digital products are just simply ownership records. A lot of people are doing that, and they continue to be successful. The Artifact guys are still selling the sneakers that have digital twins and so on, and because they have a tie-in to the physical item, there is no big expectation of people buying an NFT and then kind of selling them for a few $100s. They get their sneakers or they get the clothes or whatever, and this is extra. This is something that ties in. So that still works, and there's a lot of interest in fashion brands about that, and we hope to see a lot of traction in that area as well. Now, my favorite one is identity. I think everything will really begin when that happens, because ultimately NFTs are digital representation of unique assets, and what do we have that's most valuable rather than our identity? So if we can show something, our NFT, as a proof of our identity, that will be the moment when you can say, yeah, okay, blockchain is here to stay, and on a massive, massive scale. It will become what is promised, trillions of dollars of markets and value created, because that's the cornerstone that everything begins with. And it's actually NFTs that have to do the job, because they are representation of a unique asset. So I think this will be slow to adopt. It will take a few years, but once it's there, and because it has to be adopted on government level to really be massive, But we will see over the next 5 years experimentation with that. Of course, we are already seeing that with digital identities in games and all the stuff we are using and we are playing with. Now, the real estate is a really huge one, but this will take 30 years, if you ask me. If you ask me, today, yes, real estate is the single biggest market you can use for with NFTs, but it's not something that will happen for the next 20 or 30 years. It'll take forever, in our view. It will be the biggest, but you know, there's so much entrenched interest, and the technology we build is still so young that it will take a long time to combine those two. Domain names you've seen all, and I hope you've seen this. It's happening. It's there. And then last but not least that I've come up with is the AI. Okay, it's a very hot topic these days, and when you just think about it for a second, the biggest problem with AI is control and transparency. You cannot control it. You cannot. It doesn't know why it does something or produces something and so on. So to control it, you have to have something that certifiably AI cannot change, that you need a key to change. So blockchain comes into place, okay? NFTs are part of that story. Fungible tokens will have a story on that as well. Those are kind of the ideas of things we are seeing, we have seen, and we're working on. Who knows what else will be there? And who knows, there's a lot of other things as well. There's music, there's millions of different use cases. These are just some that I that I have chosen to highlight. So with that, anybody, if you want to talk about some specific use case or just have a question, please. I think we have a minute or two. Yeah.
So all of the use cases you've mentioned, the like new ones that you think you will allow.
Louder, please.
Yeah, so all of the use cases you have mentioned, they've already been done on Ethereum as well.
Mm-hmm.
You went to like ticketing, loyalty.
Yes, but again, as I said, it's possible to do everything there on Ethereum and on EVM chains. It's just not going to go too far. When it becomes a success, remember the first game we had, CryptoKitties. What it did? It killed Ethereum for a few days. You can't really use something on a massive scale. And Ethereum is full of problems like that. I love because the Ethereum community, because it's very creative in solving those problems, but they're mainly patching them. It's not the solution. Polkadot is the solution because it has substrate. You can natively change and focus on and do the business use case kind of blockchain. That's as simple as that. Yeah. That is what all of us are working on. Okay, we ourselves do have kind of two main directions. One is opening up the marketplaces and kind of using that as a technology, but that's something kind of obvious. And second is these loyalty programs because they can get big very quickly. Okay. Third component we need is NFT XCM. We don't have it. We're working on it. Hopefully it will be done this year. So when that happens, then you can take and really use the users within the ecosystem to kind of increase the flow and usage of it. We have Aventis guys are launching Wolf of Wall Street, something obviously an expensive IP that needs a lot of different use cases, it's very natural for us to use that because our ecosystem can do a lot of things with them, with the nesting, with the kind of advanced NFT technology we have, but we don't have yet the NFT XCM. So we are solving that problem first. It's in the works, very kind of halfway, we're halfway there. So should be done, okay? Thank you, everybody. Thanks a lot.